Welcome to Bunch Formation, your newest college football podcast. My name is Chris Vannini, and I think you're spoiled, David. You're spoiled.
Yeah, I'm David Ubben, and I did not get fired today. At least I don't think so. I got to check with my agent. Although technically, we can't get fired from this show, Chris, which is refreshing. So,
well, don't upset me. We'll keep it that way, folks. We got a lot to talk about on this episode. We're going to talk about two coaches already getting fired. We're going to talk about week 3. But the instant reactions are already in your feed. We did the Bunch Formation After Dark on Saturday night. It went up into your feeds on Sunday. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to that. Had a good time. We put on the feed to kind of give people a sense of kind of what we kind of try to do on that Saturday night show when we have the ability to do it. And so we're kind of look forward a bit more with the teams as we give our week 3 reactions. And we're going to talk about a couple other things. Does every quarterback suck? Is the American Conference awesome? And is the ACC the replay of the future? Send all your feedback to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. There will probably not be show notes for this episode. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see I'm in my parents' basement once again, as I will be for the next couple of days. I'm in town back in Michigan for my grandma's funeral. If anybody, early listeners of the show, remember, my grandma died a few months ago. We've got the family in town, so finding time to schedule this pod has been a lot. But
I can only imagine, Chris, the kind of casseroles that are being made in that house. Just deeply Midwestern stuff.
It's a very, very Italian. It's so loud. I live in a house at home with 8 to 10 dogs, typically. It is here with people. It is literally 30 times as loud. We were watching the Lions game today. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's nice and quiet now when we're recording this. Please give us a 5-star review. We read them on the show on Apple, or a Spotify comment, if you will. And we got a few more of them this time. One on Apple Podcasts from Jonah Pox, who says, one of the greats, finally leaving a 5-star review because it looks like Ubben figured out how to keep a consistent distance from the microphone. Jokes aside, great level-headed analysis and a thorough survey of the whole college football landscape. Thank you, Jonah. We are aware of that. David now has a microphone arm, which he doesn't actually like. He may need to get a new one.
Yeah, I might get a new one, but
as he moved into the new house, his previous microphone arm broke or something. And so he had the microphone kind of on a stand, as I do right now. So I hope my audio is okay. But we are aware of that. Thank you for the comment and the review. A review from LXM Roach. I'm a journalism student at CU Boulder and briefly met David in a press box once. He's an incredibly genuine and smart guy. I discovered the show only a few weeks ago, but it's become a must listen. I particularly love how the guys share the behind the scenes of their job. It makes reading their stories more fun and weirdly inspires me as a journalist. Thanks, guys. Thank you, LXM Rock. Yeah, I was going to say, David, how much you pay that person to do it?
Listen, I got a lot of burners out here. All these 5-star reviews are just me. I will say, though, today, went to church, hit up some famous toastery. I'd never been to famous toastery before.
They're the ones who sponsored the bowl game. Wait. Yeah, they sponsored the bowl game during the COVID year.
The bowl game.
Was that the Bahamas Bowl that couldn't happen? And then players, the players dumped French toast.
I'm out. Yeah, I don't know.
They dumped French toast on the coach. Great memory of COVID.
Either way, I had to try it. Went there. We had a listener to the show come up, say, hey, are you David Ubben? Comment on your stuff. Love the show. Great to hear from you guys. It's cool to see people in the wild. Chris, you've talked about this on the show. We've talked about this. There is a connection with people with the pod that happens that just doesn't really with writing. So it's great to hear from you guys. If you see me or either of us in public, feel free to say hi. Don't be weird. Keep it moving. But hey, it's always nice to hear from the listeners.
Is that the first out in the wild, hey, love the pod we've gotten on this show? I don't think I've gotten one. Other than from friends and people we know.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Because I haven't been out in public that much. Chris, I don't get out much. I don't know if you're aware of this. We got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. It's been a day over here in the Ubben household. Buddy, we are in the thick of it. You're not going to believe this, but I'm finding that 3-year-olds are not the most reasonable human beings that are walking the planet. And patience, understanding, logic. These things are lost. Shout out to that frontal cortex. Let's get it moving. Can we get that developed?
Patience and understanding. That is not what we had at two schools, as that takes us into the news segment of the show. We have to start with the news here because we got some pretty big coaching news, and that takes us to the media scrum. And that starts with two head coaching jobs that are now open. UCLA fires Deshaun Foster after just 15 games as head coach. He was 5-10 overall. They were 0-3 this year after a blowout home loss to New Mexico. And Virginia Tech fired Brent Pry, who was 16-24 in less than 4 seasons. They were also 0-3 this year and also got blown out at home by Old Dominion. Now, there's two ways we can attack this. I have done a job profile and candidate list for both of them. But David, of these two jobs, which one do you think is better?
I like Virginia Tech for a couple reasons.
Really? Interesting.
UCLA's got some financial issues right now, but you need to be in a place where people care, where it's possible to move people. I don't know that that's even possible at UCLA. When's the last time that UCLA had like some juice behind them? It's been a minute. And Virginia Tech, man, it doesn't take much to get people behind you. And when you get people behind you in the modern era, that means money, that means talent. And if we're talking playoff path, even in the expanded playoff, even in the Big Ten and being what it is, I think you can make a pretty strong case that the Virginia Tech path is clearer than the UCLA path to get to the playoff. I think it's close, but you basically just need to finish second in the ACC, and I think that's pretty reasonable at Virginia Tech. But he's more so Virginia Tech than UCLA, but Virginia Tech is on that second tier of programs, and it feels like the winds of change of the sport have blown against them, like Nebraska, Tennessee. I don't know who else you put on. Nebraska and Tennessee are kind of waving the flag for just like things are a lot harder than they used to be. But Virginia Tech, realignment takes them out of the Big East. It's tough for them to recruit and find a solid recruiting base in the ACC. You're trying to figure that out when you look at what the next 10 years of college football are going to be. UCLA has obviously got a spot on that life.
UCLA has already passed. UCLA has already passed go, and they're in the Big Ten. And that's so with Virginia Tech, like, I do wonder how much of that is like a generational thing, because you and I remember Mike Vick in the national championship. You and I remember Frank Beamer winning all those games for so long. Today's players don't. They haven't won 10 games. They've won 10 games one time since 2012. They haven't reached the ACC championship game since 2016, and it's not going to happen this year. So that is 10 years without appearing in that game. It got so bad so fast, and not like bad like they're going 3-9 every year, but like now getting to a bowl game is a struggle after they had made something like 27 bowl games in a row or something like that. And I think the biggest concern with Virginia Tech is this. And the athletic director, Whit Babcock, gave a presentation to the school's board of visitors, basically a board of trustees, last month. And here's a couple quotes that he said. He says, quote, as much as I and we all love Virginia Tech and its humility, we cannot keep taking pride in doing more with less. In another quote, he says, if we don't radically leap forward now, we're likely sealing our own fate for years and generations to come. End quote. Virginia Tech has to get this football hire right. There is no doubt about it. In terms of money, in terms of being interesting for conference realignment, if you miss this opportunity and don't get this hire right and don't turn this football program around, you don't know what's going to change in college football in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's very possible.
You got a pretty good idea what's going to change.
It's very possible Virginia Tech gets left behind in whatever a future Big Ten, SEC, Super League. I don't know, whatever it is. And Whit Babcock knows it. He said the school's athletic budget was about $122 million. It's going to be up to $144 million this year, but it has to be closer to $200 million. And that's him telling the school, we have to find and raise and make as much money as we can anywhere we can. And that is why you make a change right now, because essentially it becomes too expensive to keep the coach going in such a negative direction. You have now signaled to everybody that we are making a change and we're doing it now. Interestingly, a quote a report from our former colleague Andy Bitter, best guy in the Virginia Tech beat, said that there's going to be a search committee of a few people involved making this, and Whit Babcock, the AD, is not leading that search. At least it doesn't appear he will. So that kind of tells you what that situation is. But like you said, the fan support is there, and when Virginia Tech is rocking, very few places are rocking like Virginia Tech. Enter Sandman still matters. It was the trailer for College Football 26. It was a big deal for that to happen. It's fun when Virginia Tech is good, just kind of one of those not new money programs, but they don't have 100 years of winning history like the Blue Bloods. So we will see on how that works. In terms of potential names, I'll list some names here based on people I've talked to in the coaching industry and the agent industry. It's early. No one's hiring a coach right now. It's week 3, week 4. But these are names I would expect Virginia Tech to at least talk to, get in the mix with, have conversations with people, so on and so forth. I'll go one by one. Real quick, tell me what you think. Shane Beamer.
Don't think he'll do it.
I don't think he'll do it either, but I think Virginia Tech will make the call. You have to make the call.
You got to make the call, but he's gonna say no respectfully. But you got to make a call. He's not gonna do it, but you got to try.
Yes. Tulane coach John Sumrall.
Too smart, knows that there's bigger jobs waiting. He's not taking it.
I agree. He will have SEC teams come calling this year. Probably can do better, but if you're Virginia Tech, you make your swing, you make it early. South Florida
might trip and fall into the Florida job. We'll see.
We will see. South Florida head coach Alex Golish.
I kind of feel the same way as Summerall, and he's in a spot kind of similar to Rhett Lashley, where when your resources are outpacing most of your conference competition, you don't have to rush. You can keep winning. So I don't like him to make that move. I think he can wait on something bigger.
All right, so we'll speed through some others here. James Madison head coach Bob Chesney. He's in the state. He's won everywhere he's been. Could be an interesting name.
One.
Memphis head coach Ryan Silverfield. He's kept Memphis a steady winner, another kind of steady hand type of guy. Miami offense coordinator Shannon Dawson. He did a good job last year. Doing a good job this year. Seems to be able to get some high-powered offenses. Indiana offense coordinator Mike Shanahan. He was at James Madison for a while with Kurt Signetti.
Not that Mike Shanahan.
Not that Mike Shanahan. Different Mike Shanahan. Ohio State OC Brian Hartline. He's been very, very picky with jobs, as he can be. Really good recruiter. Hard to know. Southern Miss head coach Charles Huff would be interesting. He's a Maryland native. He knows the DMV area. He won the Sun Belt last year. He's at Southern Miss. They're probably not going to have a great year this year, but he did a good job at Marshall. We'll see. Western Kentucky head coach Tyson Helton. Another kind of steady guy.
He'd be kind of hard to pull out of there. I think he really likes being at Western Kentucky. I mean, obviously.
Well, I mean, if an ACC job comes calling, you take it. Like, he was in the mix for Purdue a couple of times, and I think Purdue should have hired him. But we'll see. Army head coach Jeff Monken. He's been in the mix for quite a few jobs. Not a splashy guy, but good coach. Liberty coach Jamie Chadwell. I would have thought that, like, you tell me a couple of weeks ago, I would have thought this would have made a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. But Liberty's really struggling. They just lost to Bowling Green.
Yes. When he's going toe-to-toe with Eddie George's squad and losing, I don't know. Like, Liberty, they're in a weird space because I kind of thought they could just sleepwalk to 10 wins every year and go undefeated, once or twice every 5 years in a peak year. I don't know what's going on with them because the schedule is obviously not very good. They've got more talent than most of the teams they played at. Last year, they had some problems on the lines. I don't know. Liberty's, I don't know what's going on with them.
And here's one more that someone had mentioned to me. Dave Clawson, former Wake Forest head coach. He stepped down. He stepped down last year, but he made sure to say he didn't retire. And he was very frustrated with not having enough resources at Wake Forest. So will Virginia have enough resources? I don't know. When you talk to the agents and stuff like that, people are still wondering how much money is Virginia Tech going to be able to throw at this. I think Brent Pry made like $4.7 million. That's the kind of money you're often hiring a G5 head coach from, not necessarily like big time coordinator. So we'll see. And a lot of this is going to depend, obviously, what other jobs open up. And this is expected to be a very big coaching carousel because there were very few big jobs last year, but Virginia Tech is at. So That's the Virginia Tech job. We will continue to come back to it as, more reporting happens. UCLA, this is a fascinating situation because it's
Yeah.
one that, everything's, if you were Ari Wasserman and I asked you which job is better, he's saying Los Angeles, he's saying Westwood,
He's on
Southern
Zillow.
California.
Ari's on Zillow already looking up what you can buy for $5 million.
Yeah. And so, Chip Kelly left this job to be the OC at Ohio State it was for a few reasons. One, Chip Kelly just doesn't like doing the current college football thing. He just wants to be a ball coach. That's why he just went to be an assistant, and now he's in the NFL, an assistant, just coaching ball. But two, he knew UCLA was not there with the resources, the ability to compete in NIL and all these other things as well. So he leaves in February of last year. Really tough time to hire a coach. They end up hiring Deshaun Foster, who had just been on the staff, alum, assistant coach, keep the roster together. And he did.
They violated my golden rule, Chris, of coaching hires. My golden rule of coaching hires: if nobody else in your division, if none of your peers would hire that coach, do not hire that coach.
He was hired on the cheap. He's one of the lowest paid coaches among the Power Four. That's going to have to change. The thing is, UCLA's money situation is very, very weird. Our colleague Scott Docterman had a good story on the 2014 Big Ten financial reports. UCLA has run a $200 million deficit over the last 5 years. And now they have to pay $20 million for players, for revenue sharing. They moving to the Big Ten as a full vested member helps. They will be bringing in a lot more money that way. But this is a situation where a lot of people wonder, do they have the resources to do it? You have, the big shot Casey Wasserman, big name executive guy. People wonder how much he will be kind of pulling strings, trying to make certain things happen. We know how big time donors work, especially ADs who are a bit under fire. And, UCLA they have not been as good as like you would think. Like they've won a conference championship since 1998. They've won 10 games just twice in the last 20 years. And they have 3 bowl games in the last 6 years. Other than that little blip under Jim Mora, it went back down. They don't win here. And the Rose Bowl is constantly empty. You always see the pictures of how empty that stadium is. There's just a lot of fan apathy right now. And yes, the stadium's not on campus. It's hard to get there. I know all that stuff. But if you want to be a big-time Big Ten college football program, you got to have support. You got to have money. Before I get to names, what do you think of the job?
So I'm working on a story about Fran Brown and the hiring process that Syracuse went under. And I think there were some really valuable lessons in that hire for a couple reasons. One, not a sexy hire, not a hire that got people excited.
He was a position coach.
He was a position coach at Georgia. But their AD, John Wildhack, did a lot of due diligence in that. Called around, talked to, Matt Rule, Kirby Smart. And one of the things that Kirby told him, and this will be in the story, is when Kirby hired him, he's like, you're sitting next to me in all the head coaches meetings. You're going to help me with recruiting strategy. You're going to be way more involved in game planning. His actual job outpaced what his title was. And I think you have to do that due diligence, and you have to get coaches that are interested in running a program and doing it in the modern world of college football more than, hey, we need the hot coordinator. Hey, we need somebody that's going to get fans excited. Hey, we need somebody that's going to get donations up 20% for the first 6 months. You know what gets donations up is winning. Yes. And you know what wins is having a guy who's interested in building a program and doing it in a sustainable way over time. And you've got to be deliberate about that search and do your due diligence. And I think there's a lot of ADs that don't do that. And we talk a lot about winning the press conference. It's a big problem. You need to have a guy that makes sense for you. And I think with UCLA and Virginia Tech specifically, you need guys who are crawling over broken glass to get that job, but are also qualified to get that job. And there's a fine line in that. And so with both of these jobs, because they're not top tier jobs, but they are good jobs. And I think it's fair to say, especially in the 12-team playoff era, it's very easy to dream. Why can't UCLA get to the playoff 2 and 3 years out of 5 years. Why can't they do that? Why can't Virginia Tech do that?
Especially if Tony Petitti makes a format that makes it a lot easier for you middle of the road Big Ten teams.
Like if you got to win like 9 or 10 games, like you can do that at these places. Yes. And so if you get the right guy, stuff's going to happen for you. So I think that's the most important thing, is doing your due diligence and getting somebody who understands what the modern world of college football is and says, hey, we got to have a plan to acquire talent and a plan to win here, and not just, well, his offense was ranked top 5 last year, so let's bring him over. A lot of these guys these coordinators don't have any interest in running their programs.
Yeah. And you hear that a lot from talking to agents and stuff about UCLA and what they think of that job, which is just like, they think don't go splashy name. You got to have someone who can start to build something. Because
go find your Brent Key.
An program alum. I guess it didn't work out for UCLA, but so like 18-team Big Ten here, like where UCLA ranks among Big Ten jobs, like it's tough. You're going to be behind Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, USC, Oregon, maybe Washington, maybe Nebraska.
Definitely Washington and definitely Nebraska.
Maybe Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin in there. Like in your head, you think like Los Angeles, it should be better than it is and has been pretty much historically. So we'll see. Here are some names from some people I've talked to around that place. Tell me what you think. We'll go one by one here. Same thing. USC defensive coordinator Danton Lynn.
Little new to college football. That would make me nervous.
He was the DC there in 2023, did a really good job and really impressed some of the key people who are making the decisions at UCLA. That is a name I expect will get a lot of play.
Can I quick detour? I don't like this idea that, college football is becoming more professionalized. We need to get an NFL model. I totally think that's wrong entirely.
Well, that's why you're hiring the GMs to do the NFL.
Well, I know there's an element of professionalism, but what college football is becoming is something completely new. It's not the old college football. It's not the NFL. It's something very new and very different and very unique. And you need somebody who understands that and embraces that, not just like, well, the players are paid now and we're going to be working with contracts and the rosters are more transient, so we need an NFL guy. It's like, that's like the most shallow way of thinking possible. So anyway,
UNLV head coach Dan Mullen. Did a good job, Mississippi State.
You're in LA. Go get an insane recruiter that's going to beat down the door of every person with a UCLA flag in their yard, shaking them down for money, for players, for everything you got. If you're in LA and you can get a freakish recruiter, that's where you want to be. And Dan Mullen is not that. Michigan
State coach Jonathan Smith.
Program builder, but it feels like in LA you need someone that's a little bit more compelling. Like the Fran Brown example is good. People didn't know who Fran Brown was, but when you saw him and he was on a bigger stage, you realize, this guy is like really compelling in a bunch of different ways. And there's a lot of position coaches, there's a lot of people that aren't prominent faces that when you get in a room with them with an AD, you're like, if this is the face of my program's going to be bigger. In LA, I feel like people don't like the cult of personality in college football. I think in LA, you got to have it.
And Jonathan Smith, the most nondescript coach you've ever met in your life. Here's why he's on the list.
Respectfully, his name's Jonathan Smith. So there you go.
Here's why he's on the list. He's a Pasadena native. He spent all of his career on the West Coast before he went from Oregon State to East Lansing, Michigan. And if Michigan State had not scooped him up so quickly early in that coaching cycle, Washington would have, or UCLA would have. And Michigan State just got him. And it's notable, Jonathan Smith's buyout to leave Michigan State is now just $3 million because the AD who hired him is no longer there. I think Smith is steadily building Michigan State. They're 3-0 this year. They're recruiting better. It seems to be working. But, a guy who could go home, I don't know if he wants to do it or not. Michigan State does have more resources than UCLA. Does have a better path to some things. But that's why he's on the list. Memphis head coach Ryan Silverfield, we already talked about him. Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee. He is here because he coached at UCLA for 4 years between 2006 and 2011. He has turned Vanderbilt from a doormat into a tough out. They just beat South Carolina. He's done a good job. But what is the ceiling on Vanderbilt? Do you think the ceiling on UCLA might be higher? What do you think?
It's worth thinking about. I don't know. It's a good question. I want to see what this Vanderbilt team becomes because I don't know how good they are or aren't. I just know when you watch them, they're such a headache, that offense. I will say if you hire Clark Lee, I'm at least asking, is Jerry Kill coming with you? And Tim Beck, are those guys coming with you?
Yes. And Washington head coach Jed Fish. Here's why he's here. Similar to Danton Lynn, key people at UCLA like Jed Fish. He was the offensive coordinator in 2017 and then the interim head coach when Mora was fired. He then spent the next 2 years with the LA Rams. Fish has bounced around a lot of jobs over the years. Staying 3 years at one place is something he doesn't really do. However, the buyout for him to leave Washington is $10 million. That is a lot. What do you think?
I think it's possible. I think he'd be a pretty good fit. I like it. I think he could do worse. I think Jed Fish is one of those that people thought when he came to Arizona was just like a really middle of the road NFL. Oh, you're hiring an NFL guy just because. But he seems to really understand the college game, roster building, player development, all of those things. We had him on the show, I don't know, earlier this spring. He was nice about it. North Carolina calls themselves the NFL's 33rd NFL team. I think Washington is actually the NFL's 33rd team. They're actually doing the things that North Carolina keeps talking about doing. So I would be really interested. I think that'd be a doing that in LA is an interesting prospect.
BYU coach Kalani Sitake. He's won 10 games, 3 of the last 5 years, 11-2 last year. He's fully West Coast guy, but BYU's his home as well. Sitake's name has come up for other jobs. I think this is one he would take if the opportunity was there. Matt Campbell, I know a lot of people roll their eyes because he's on every coaching list for the last 10 years and he has chosen to stay, and he may very well choose to stay again. But again, this comes down to where do you think Iowa State's going to be in 5 years? Are they going to be potentially left behind or something? Do you jump to a Big Ten job? I'm not saying he will. I'm saying this is what people in the industry think about. And Minnesota coach PJ Fleck, he was around this job the last time it was open, but ultimately the resources weren't there. Minnesota stepped up. He stayed. He continues to be solid there. Any of those 3 guys stand out to you? He's a big personality, Fleck, man. You think LA?
I like that. I mean, Fleck is a good combo of personality, doing what he can at Minnesota. I'd really like to see what Fleck could do at a big job. You're just playing uphill at Minnesota so often that I don't, Fleck has his detractors, certainly. And, for all the folks that want to call him like Tony Robbins and all this stuff, he's winning. He's winning. And that's not something that's easy to do and sustain at Minnesota. So I like PJ Fleck in that job. And if you're Matt Campbell, you can get it. I feel like you gotta take it. But we'll see what Iowa State becomes. I mean, a lot of this is what I was saying, you want somebody that you think can sustain and grow your program, but you do have to sell it, and you can't hire a guy coming off of a 7-5 season at Minnesota or Iowa State. So
we will see. Yeah, I think I like of all the options there. I think Fleck makes a lot of sense for a lot.
I agree.
Not saying it's going to happen. Not saying he would even leave. I'm just saying in terms of a fit, I think it's a pretty good fit. So we will see.
Old PJ Fleck, maybe not, but new PJ Fleck, that's an LA guy.
So with that, let's get into looking back at week 3. And we're going to start off by playing a game called Contender or Pretender. And we're going to start off with Georgia beating Tennessee 44-41 in overtime. High scoring game. Not at all what either of us expected. We talked about this game on the previous show, the After Dark reactions. We don't need to recap the whole thing. Georgia wins in overtime. They got the fourth down. They got the fourth down conversion to stay alive. They got the 2-pointer to tie the game to get to overtime. Tennessee misses the field goal at the end of regulation. Georgia gets the touchdown run in overtime to win. Start off with Georgia. Is this team national title contender to you right now?
They have to be. I mean, first of all, that throw from Gunnar Stockton to London Humphreys, that was the best throw I've seen all season. I
Very
mean,
good.
degree of difficulty, setting on the road, not your whole season, but the game was certainly on the line. Here's how I feel about Florida. I feel like Georgia, other than Ohio State, I'm trying to think. Maybe other than Ohio State, it feels like Georgia has like the highest floor. I don't love their upside. We talk about this on the reaction. I don't like them with this offense trying to kind of bludgeon their way through the playoff. I don't think they're built for that. But they're just going to be so hard to beat because you have to be great. And Kirby, especially with time to prepare, that's just somebody you don't really want to line up against on the other side. They don't have the same dogs that they've had in the past in the secondary, in the front seven, but they're still really good. And I'm not a huge believer in Gunnar Stockton, but I do think the weapons are better. We saw that with Zachariah Branch. London Humphreys made some plays. Dylan Bell is still like a pretty good player. I still don't know what's going on with Oscar Delp. Like, I feel like he just should be better. And I feel like he just hasn't been what I thought he was going to be the last couple of years, but their floor seems really high. So I say yes on the contender just because I feel like they could just scrap their way to.
I mean, I think there's like 5 to 8 teams you could tell me could win the national championship, and I'd say, yeah, I could see that. Like nobody really stands out.
I think it's closer to 10 to 12 personally.
Yeah. Like, and I think seeing what Gunnar Stockton did raises their ceiling for me. Now, I will note he threw pretty much nothing between the hashes. Nothing in the middle.
And also, Chris, let's also point out Tennessee missing both of their starting corners, Ricky Gibson, Jermod McCoy.
Correct.
Jermod McCoy's an All-American, tore his ACL last year, hadn't been able to play this season. Like with Gunnar Stockton, the numbers look good. I didn't see a lot from him. That throw was huge, but it wasn't like he was just shredding, and it wasn't Michael Penix against Texas in the show.
No.
Was good.
What's interesting is that like neither of these teams ran the ball very well either, except the number one running backs. Like Nate Frazier had 5.2 yards per carry for Georgia. Star Thomas had 6.7 per carry, but neither of them like ran the ball very much. It turned out to be like a quarterback shootout type of game. Georgia national contender, yes, and we're going to find out because they are off next week, and then they've got Alabama. So that is going to be a heck of a game. Tennessee, I moved them up in my 136 rankings, like several spots, despite losing, because I had them down to like 25, I think. But this team looks better than I thought they were in the preseason.
Me too, big time.
Are they SEC championship contender for you?
They can be in the mix in November. What we thought has kind of come to fruition, Chris, and we saw it. Nico's a really talented player. You can see why he was a 5-star. He's got his flaws. He's going to have to grow, all that stuff. And so when you replace him with, 0-star JUCO guy, Joey Aguilar, I get the detractors there, but his mental makeup is a much better fit for this offense. And you saw it because you've got to give guys a chance. You've got to throw those 50-50 balls. You have to make the defense account for one, just getting beat over the top, which we didn't see a ton of. But when Chris Brazel's making these 50-50 catches, which we had not seen that from him ever, that gives you a ability in this offense that they just didn't have last year. I mean, you forget this Tennessee team got to the playoff last year. They didn't score in the first half of 3 straight SEC games against Alabama, against Arkansas, against Florida. They won 2 of those games, but that's crazy. You just can't do that. This team doesn't have the defense to do that. I do like their running backs. I don't know why they are pretending like Star Thomas is not their best back. They're kind of messing around there. Star Thomas is really good. So I like this team. I think they're better defensively than we thought. The receivers, Mike Matthews seems like he's grown up. We'll see what Chris Brazel is. I mean, he made some plays there. They need some more guys to get open. I do like Braylon Staley, the freshman. So I kind of agree with you. I came away from that game. Like, Tennessee was the better team in that game. And I don't, if you play that game 10 times, Georgia's probably the better team 6 or 7 of those times.
Yeah.
But Tennessee didn't play that well, and they outplayed Georgia even though they lost the game.
Tell you what, schedule the rest of the way, very favorable. SEC schedule is Mississippi State on the road, Arkansas, Alabama, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Florida, Vanderbilt. Like, I could
If
see
you're
them
sitting
winning
there at
all that.
9-3, if you're sitting there at 9-3, you're
No,
going
I'm
to
just
be in
talking
the
about in terms
mix.
of SEC championship contender. I think they are very much can
Yeah,
do if they play
definitely.
like
They
they
can do
did.
it. Yeah.
So we'll see on that. All right, Texas A&M beats Notre Dame 41-40 on a last-second touchdown on a fourth down, thanks to an extra point that Notre Dame missed on the previous drive. Notable thing here from our colleague Pete Sampson, our great Notre Dame writer. CJ Carr seems to be tipping plays. Pete
I saw
noted that
this.
on 58 of the 64 plays where CJ Carr received the snap, you could tell if it was a run or a pass. If the feet were parallel at the snap, it's a run. If the feet are staggered, it's a drop back pass. Every single staggered set was a pass except for one attempt. Seemed like, but it sounded like Notre Dame kind of knew this too, and that Texas A&M knew it. I mean, the offense still scored, I think, 33 points. It's really not the offense's fault they lost that game. Defense has been falling off. Is we'll get to A&M in a second, but Notre Dame, CFP contender, or are they done? They're now 0-2, by the way.
I think they'll trip up somewhere. I think this team, they're young. They're not good enough. I kind of trusted their makeup a little bit more last year with a little bit more experience. I think they'll trip up. I think they're good enough to win all 10 of these games and be in the conversation. I think they'll trip up against someone stupid. There's a lot of opportunity there, even though they don't play.
They play one team. They play one team that is ranked the rest of the way, currently ranked. That is USC at number 25. They got Arkansas on the road, which could be tricky, but
that'd be tricky there.
Boise, NC State, USC, Boston
NC
College,
State's better
Navy,
than people think.
Pitt,
Have you watched them,
Syracuse,
Chris? Have you watched
Stanford.
them?
NC State. I mean, I watched the Wake game. They kind of
they're
they should be better than they are. I like the pieces there. They're kind of not pulling away in ways that I think they should. But it looked like Pitt. I still think Pitt's all right. Like Navy could be tough. I like Boston College, even though they lost. To
There's
Stanford.
a bunch of losable games on there. People say they'll be favored in most of those, which they will, but I think they lose at least one, probably two of those. So I'm out on Notre Dame.
A 10-2 Notre Dame, if they win the rest of their games, will be in the conversation. But it is
they'll be in the
far
playoff,
from
Chris.
any.
They'll be in the conversation. They'll be in the playoff.
It will be far from any sure thing there in the playoff. This is different than Northern Illinois last year, because if they are 10-2, there's probably going to be a lot of 9-3 SEC teams. And the new metrics the committee are supposedly using this year will reward you not only for close losses, but for good wins. And if the SEC beats up on each other, you might have teams with a lot of good wins. And if Notre Dame doesn't have a lot of good wins and they're 10-2, they could get jumped. I think if you lose a third game, 9-3 Notre Dame, you're done. The whole like agreement with Notre Dame in its situation is if you have one loss, you're in. If you have two, you're on the border. If you have three, you're probably out. That's what everybody kind of accepted when they came up with this 12-team model. So 10-2 with potentially no good wins, no great wins. I do not think that is a sure thing, but it depends what everybody else does. We will have to wait and see.
I'm just going to project out though, Chris. When we have not a lot of great teams at the top, in the NCAA tournament, they talk about like the soft and hard bubble. We're about to have a real soft bubble, Chris.
Very much.
There's going to be some bad teams that we're arguing at that 11-12 spot that we're.
No, man, just wait till we're arguing 16, man. It's going to be great. We're going to start talking 4-loss teams. People are going to love it. People are going to love it, man. All right, let's talk about Texas A&M here, by the way. They're the ones who got the win. Marcel Reed, 17 for 37, but 360 yards, 2 touchdowns. A&M put up almost 500 total yards in this game. Their schedule is favorable. I'll get to that in a second. Are they an SEC contender? Championship?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing, Chris, is they just had guys that couldn't get open last year, which is a huge issue. Noah Thomas, kind of a possession receiver. Johnny Walker is an okay player, but the amount of speed that they've added gives them a lot of balance. You bring in Mario Craver over from Mississippi State. You bring in, I love KC Concepcion. You add him from NC State. These are guys that are just really good at getting open. And Casey Concepcion is probably the best route runner on the team. Terry Bussey, obviously is a burner, former quarterback, big Texas guy. So they needed that balance because you knew they were probably going to be able to run the ball. They got so many backs. They're really good on the lines. Defensively, I don't know that I'm ready to give these guys the old, wrecking crew just yet, but they were really solid. And love Cassius Howell, one of my favorite players to watch in college football this year. I think a guy that is really under the radar in terms of just college football fans. Go watch Cassius Howell. He's extremely fun. Had a great game on Saturday. I love A&M to contend. Listen, A&M's, they're going to be dealing with the jokes until they actually do it. Same thing with Texas. They'll be in the hunt at the end of this thing, and we'll see if they can win the games that it's going to take to get to Atlanta. But they're definitely good enough. I mean, we've seen enough from them so far to say it. They're not going 8-4. I can guarantee you that.
They do not play Alabama. They do not play Georgia. They do not play Tennessee. In terms of the SEC, that's about as good as you can get. And let's not forget, remember, you and I go to College Station for that game against Texas. That game was for a spot in the SEC championship.
Yes,
Mike Elko did have them as an SEC contender in year one.
And they were only a 6-point dog in that game, I think, right?
Something like that. And the game was not a great game. But the rest of A&M's schedule is Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, Samford, Texas. Could you see 3 losses in there? Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But could you see 1 loss in there? Yeah, you could. Like
that stretch, man, of at Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri. That's tough. That's tough. Although is that Arkansas game actually on the road, or did they finally end the weird Arlington thing?
That says it says Razorback Stadium according to Google, so it appears that.
All right, there you go. They've been talking about doing it forever, and then I forgot when they were actually doing it. Yeah. So, okay, I'm glad we're out of Arlington. That game was needing to leave.
So that was contender or pretender. I think we think they're all contenders for various things still. Now we're going to move on to a bit called Panic or No Panic. And we're going to start with LSU beats Florida 20-10 in an ugly game. Garrett Nussmeier throws for 220 yards, 1 bad interception. LSU basically won this game because of the defense, which intercepted DJ Lagway 5 times. Lagway made some very, very bad decisions. Are we Florida's Florida? LSU's still there. I dropped them from my number 1 spot because they haven't been there. The Clemson win's not as good. Is it time to panic about star quarterbacks? Why does every single quarterback we thought was going to be the top guy this year not been good? We're talking Garrett Nussmeier. We're talking DJ Lagway. We're talking Arch Manning. We're talking Cade Klubnik at Clemson. Lenora Sellers, who was injured, so he kind of maybe doesn't count. But these were like the guys along with, Drew Aller, who we're not counting because he hasn't played anybody worth a damn. Did we just all get this wrong? Did the NFL people we talked to about quarterbacks, did they get it wrong? Because it seems like none of these guys who were supposed to be like the stars of college football are living up to it. You wrote a column on this.
So, yeah, there's still time. It's still early in the season, but it has been really bad. And I think you had a group of really experienced, really talented quarterbacks. I think there's a bunch of good quarterbacks in college football, but we haven't seen a guy absolutely tear it up. Cade Klubnik has been actively bad. Garrett Nussmeier, who I think is the best of this bunch, has not been great. We're not going to engage in Drew Aller yet. We haven't seen anything from him. But the Arch thing is hard to swallow. I wrote a column that's up on The Athletic this morning, basically talking about that the hype machine has never had a worse first month of the season. You have Clemson, who I thought was going to be maybe one of the better teams in college football in a while. They have not. I mean, they're sitting there. They're 1-2. They might sneak into the playoff, but they just haven't looked good.
We'll talk about. Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah.
DJ Lagway, 5 interceptions, Chris. That's
some bad ones
hard to
too.
Believe. I think DJ Lagway, when you watch him, it jumps off like he's a guy that knows how talented he is and hasn't figured out he's not playing high school football anymore yet. He's just like, well, I can outrun everybody. My arm strength is enough. I can throw it up. My guy's going to make a play. It's like, no, there's some boys out here that will make you pay for that. And he's just making some lazy throws, some crazy decisions, not seeing the field, not valuing the ball. 10 points, 5 turnovers. I mean, you take away one of those picks, you can turn 3 points into that, and then you got a chance late. Just, 5 picks. I don't remember the last time I saw a good quarterback or a guy with that much talent throw 5 picks in one game.
Yeah, because you usually get benched before you get to the 5th one. Like that's what
but
what
even
normally
that,
happens.
it's not like it's not like he's running for his life all night either. It's not like he was getting beat up and having all these collapsing pockets. A lot of these were just like, well, I'm rolling out. I'll see if I can fit it in there. It's like, no, dude, you can't.
So like, do we, the media, do we owe an apology to fans for
that was part of
all
my
of these
column,
hyped up quarterbacks?
it's an apology. The Arch tour has not come up. The Arch thing, listen, I don't know. Sark seems dead set on saying he's healthy. There's just basic stuff that Arch is not able to do. When you can't throw an out route, when you can't hit a slant, when you're throwing worm burners, when you're making weird decisions, like Arch hasn't really done a lot well. And I would watching him come in last year against Georgia gave me a lot of pause on the Arch hype. So I've been saying this since January. I've been saying this since January. I was like, slow down on Arch. You can see the tools. I think he's going to be good eventually, probably. But like, he's not just going to walk in and own everybody. If he was going to do that, one, he wouldn't have been stuck behind a 7th rounder in Quinn Ewers last year, and you would have seen more of it in spots. He looked totally overwhelmed in that Georgia game.
And injured Quinn Ewers, it turned out, as well, which Texas didn't tell us about. I think with Arch, though, like, you're a 3rd-year guy. You have the same coordinators and coaches. You have been in this program, and you are not hitting
a ton of talent around you.
You are not hitting the basic stuff. And that is either something mechanical got changed and it's a problem, or you're hurt and you're the best you've got. So either way, that's weird. But so like I tweeted this Saturday night. I said all these quarterbacks, the QB stars who are supposed to lead the sport, it's not happening. And then I got every single person in my mentions telling me every above average quarterback they could think of in college football. We should be talking about them more. I'm sorry. Tell me when Fernando Mendoza plays a team with a pulse at Indiana. Yes. Could he be good? Yes, but he's not a star. Luke Altmaier is not a star. Dante Moore is not yet a star. The 2 guys who I think have stood out among the quarterbacks, maybe the 3 best quarterbacks in the country this season, have been John Mateer at Oklahoma, Haynes King at Georgia Tech, and Carson Beck at Miami. And so those may be the guys we need to just kind of like get the quarterback attention on more than some of these other guys. It's going to be a very interesting way to see how the rest of the season plays out, because like Nussmeier is a veteran. Klubnik's a veteran. Our Arch is a 3rd-year guy. Like, we expected more from these guys because they are the few experienced ones. Like DJ Lagway's not an experienced guy. Julian Say and CJ Carr, they're not experienced guys. It's the veterans who are really struggling. Okay, so Brian Kelly, after the game at the LSU press conference, first question, we talked about this. We talked about this as you heard it on the instant reactions. But Brian Kelly, the first question he's asked is about the struggles of the running game. And Brian Kelly just kind of goes off, says, we used to not be good at 3rd downs. Now we're good at 3rd downs. This is really the first question you're asking. Then the guy follows up with something else. And Brian Kelly basically tells him, you're spoiled. You're spoiled. And the first reaction to people when they just see the comment, they think, oh, coach freaks out. He's overreacting, blah, 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 blah. I got to say, I don't know the reporter who asked, but you can tell in that moment that Brian Kelly and this guy have had a thing. This is not some person he doesn't know. And like, I would be kind of mad too if beating Florida, your rival, the first question you get asked is about not being good at something. Like, that's a question that's a question that comes up as like the 4th or 5th question of the press conference, or on Monday, the Monday press conference. I think Brian Kelly was right to be upset. What do you think?
I think you can be upset, but I think what you don't want to do is minimize what your team just did, and it was distracting. I mean, we're sitting here talking about LSU. We're not talking about
all we've talked about, by the way, is how bad LSU was in that game too. By the way, LSU defense, I think it's legit. I like the defense; they're really good.
Yeah, they are. The Blake Baker hire was very good, and it's paying off for them. I think you don't want to distract from what your team did, and I think even if you're filled with and I use this term with the largest air quotes possible, a righteous anger over the question, like, you did kind of take away from what your team just did. You distracted from your team's win, and now people are talking about and debating about whether or not you were justified in getting mad at this question, not about like, hey, this is what my team did. So like, you know, people can kind of roll their eyes when, you know, you get in post-game interviews and players and coaches are just like, it's about the guys, it's about the team, it's about the guys and all this stuff. And, you know, the media training comes through. And on some level, I respect the you know, the honesty and the leaning into what he's feeling emotionally at the moment. But at the end of the day, like if you're trying to be strategic and you're a coach and you're trying to do it, I think it probably is a bit of an own goal here, even if you are right.
I do. I don't think the quote of "you're spoiled, is not something you want your fans to hear. It's not something you want to be defined as your tenure, as you thinking the fans should be more grateful that you were the first coach of the last 4 at LSU who has not won a national championship. And ultimately, you had 5 interceptions and you won by 10 points. You probably should have
At
won by
home
more.
against a team that's probably not very good. That lost
So
to
like,
USF this week.
yeah,
I will say, Chris,
it's
the
a
one
fair
thing I
point.
think he forgot in this moment too, and you sort of alluded to it, but I think it's worth saying explicitly, is coaches forget like there are personal relationships in this, and I think especially with press conferences, this is a thing. Is yes, there's a person that's asking it, but the coaches have to remember when there's 20 cameras on you and you're answering questions after a game, you're not talking to that reporter. You're talking to, in this case, everyone in the state of Louisiana. And you might be saying you're spoiled to this reporter who's asking a question about the offense, which was not good, which has had some issues, which I think is a fair question overall. But there's definitely people that feel that way. And I think there's definitely a consternation there. And like you said, you know, when the offense struggles again in 2 weeks or whenever and they lose, like that, you're spoiled is going to be thrown back in. It's like, see, these questions were pretty fair because our running game can't do anything. Garrett's struggling. The receivers aren't as good. And so I think he probably forgot in that moment, or maybe disagrees with it, but I think it's pretty true that when that camera's on you, you're speaking to the entire fan base. And that's not the message you probably want to be sending.
It could have been worse. He could have said the entire team should be executed and nobody get the joke, which
Yeah,
he has
that's true.
done before. Real quick, Georgia Tech 24, Clemson 21. I'm completely out on Clemson at this point.
I'm with you.
I think it's inexcusable. We both had them playing for the national championship. And I know like Bill Connolly and some other people were like, don't buy Clemson. They haven't beat anybody any good over the last 2 years. I get that. I acknowledge that. And I did coming in. The reason I thought Clemson would be different this year is because they have the experience and the talent. They've not had the talent the last couple of years. This is a team that has like 5 or 6 like top 100 NFL draft prospects. The NFL draft is going to come in the spring. We're going to go be like, wow, that's a lot of Clemson guys. Can't believe they only won.
It feels like
8
Michigan
games.
2023. That's what Clemson felt like coming in. Where like, okay,
the
you're
experienced
topping.
team with everybody. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That was kind of what I was thinking coming in. Is like, okay, you got the quarterback. You've seen him kind of grow. That Texas game still made a huge impact on me and how I saw them. But that experience and that talent, you know, it's different when you got a bunch of 5-star guys that you're trying to figure it out. But when you have some 5-star guys and some 4-star guys that are like third-year starters, that usually works. And the thing with Clemson that's most confounding to me is I don't know why it's not working. They're just not very good. I don't really have good answers for why. And it's not as simple as like, well, they don't have Antonio Williams. You should be good enough to beat Georgia Tech without Antonio Williams. Like LSU, whatever. It is what it is. That game was close. One team's going to lose that. You should win that Georgia Tech game. And you're getting pushed around a little bit, frankly.
Georgia Tech here. Are they a college football playoff contender? They are 3-0. And their schedule does not include Miami or Florida State or SMU. Here's the rest of their schedule: Temple, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Duke, Syracuse, NC State, Boston College, Pitt, Georgia. Like, it's not crazy to think they could be 11-0 going into the Georgia game.
They won't be. It's reasonable to think that they won't be. But yes,
but like those next 3 games, Temple, not a good G5 team. Wake Forest been bad this year. Virginia Tech's 0-3, just fired their coach. Like at minimum, you got to be talking. You got to win your next 3, 6-0. Duke on the road. Like we're still not really sure kind of what Duke is. Syracuse, big step back. NC State, like Pitt just lost to West Virginia. Like they won't go undefeated, I don't think. But like Man, actually, that's the thing. Brent Key 7-1 against ranked teams as the head coach at Georgia Tech. He has more trouble with the teams that aren't ranked, and there's a lot of teams that aren't ranked on the upcoming schedule. But
this is the best team he's had, though, Chris. And I think you mentioned they don't have to go undefeated. They already have some pretty good wins. They'll have more opportunities. If they're sitting there at 10-2 and they go to Charlotte and lose, to Miami by 6 or whatever, they're going to be right there in the playoff. It's
going to be close.
I don't know that you want Georgia Tech and Brent Key coming to your house for a first-round playoff game. I'm not sure that is some smoke that you're wanting in round one.
Yeah, and what I mean, maybe they go 10-2 and they don't make the ACC championship game, and it's a Miami, Florida State, and neither of them play Georgia Tech type of situation because the ACC keeps doing this where all of their best teams turns out don't play each other during the season. So Georgia Tech in the playoff, start talking to it about your kids. Want to shout out the ACC here too as well. The instant replay thing they have going on is awesome. Every single college football fan loves this. They let you listen in on the conversation between the on-field official and the replay booth. I wrote a column about it. It's like a revelation. They did it. They've done it for a handful of games this year. They're doing it. They're starting to do it more because it's getting rave reviews. Everybody should be doing this within like 2 or 3 years. Like, it's such an obvious thing. We're going to wonder why we didn't have this on the broadcast already. I talked about this on the instant reaction, but like, shout out to the XFL, UFL. They've been doing it since 2020, the spring league, Dean Blandino. And I asked college officials and referees for years, why don't you do this? And I was told 2 things. One, XFL, UFL, you're playing 1 or 2 games at a time, as opposed to a full conference slate. It's tougher. That's fair. I agree. The other part of it was they were worried about like fan backlash. Suddenly the replay official in the command center is a new character for fans to get mad at for something. and look, some fans are crazy. Like, I get that. That's understandable. But the feedback to this has been 100% positive. Like, there was someone who commented on my story who was like, that lateral play that I think they got wrong, but I at least understood how they got to the decision that they made. Like, the transparency is so important. If you show fans the process you went through to make your decision, even if they don't agree with the decision, they understand the human element that's going in, and they can give you some more leniency on what that is. I think this replay thing can really tamp down the anger people have toward officials and just show you, look, there isn't a conspiracy here. The conference office isn't calling in saying, hey, we need that team to win this game. Like, that is so important at a time when fans are more kind of conspiratorial than ever before. So shout out to the ACC for this replay thing. It's great. I think everybody needs to do it. Hopefully it will be in the future. I love this, Dave. You didn't seem to care about it as much as I did, but it happened several times in that Clemson Georgia Tech game, and I'm like, man, and it's entertaining. Like, it's better television than just having the rules guy come in and say, well, I don't know.
I like it. I like the transparency, Chris. You mentioned that transparency. I got an idea. Okay. Everybody needs new revenue, right? The playoff wants new revenue. The schools are looking to squeeze everything they can. I got a great idea for a new college football podcast, Chris. Okay.
What's up?
Here's what you do. You take the college football playoff committee, and you just throw a podcast mic right in the middle of it. Today we get the replay booth. Tomorrow we get to hear every word that the playoff committee says. Tell me that wouldn't be the most popular podcast in America. Monetize it. But today's college football playoff committee brought to you by Warby Parker and Arch Manning. I like it.
Tell you what, whatever you think of those clowns in Congress, at least they're usually having public hearings on issues before not making any decisions whatsoever. So that's good. All right, quick hits here. Going to go through some games real quick, like one quick thought. Vanderbilt 31, South Carolina 7. Lenora Sellers out. We don't know his future.
Sounds like he's coming back, but yeah.
My reaction to this is Diego Pavia is doing Diego Pavia things. Did you see that clip of him on the reverse basically deliver a pancake
throwing
block?
The block? Yeah. Chris, we've been on Diego. We've been on Diego back in New Mexico State days. So listen, we are the preeminent Diego Pavia. I believe we did 20 minutes on P-Gate back in 2023. We've been on this. So I feel entitled to give Diego his flowers. I will say some real look in the mirror moments for South Carolina, because this feels like a season that can go a number of different directions. You could have, hey, this is the start of something special, or you can go off the rails and go 7-5 pretty quick here.
Miami 49, USF 12. Is Miami the best team in the country? Like, I really debated putting them at number 1. Like, you can make the case. I think Notre Dame losing to Texas A&M hurts it a little bit, but they look legit. Carson Beck has looked awesome. This might be the best team in the country right now.
Here's the way to think about Miami, Chris, and because I've been thinking about this too, because I see them and I don't know that I'm like all that wowed by them, but I was thinking about deception. I think about it this way: what do they do that's not at least above average? Kind of nothing. Like, they might not do anything that makes you just be like, you gotta watch this with Miami. Maybe their pass rush, but they are good at everything. And that, especially now when there's so much parity at the top, I think Miami, and I think too, we talk about Oregon, the way their season ended. I think Miami, they were up 21-0 on the doorstep of the ACC ACC championship game, coughed up that lead, coughed up a playoff spot, and ended up playing for some Pop-Tarts. That lands hard on a program.
The one thing they don't do great is not putting out 2 punt return people with the same jersey number on, or get a delay of game for the second half. The game management stuff, it's always going to be the thing you think about. All right. Ole Miss 41, Arkansas 35. Ended up being a close game. Arkansas fumbled the ball late with a chance to win. Trinidad Chambliss, quarterback, took over for Austin Simmons, who didn't play. He might have been Wally pipped. I don't know. Trinidad Chambliss looked awesome. You'll get into him a little bit later in the show. Funny moment in this. Basketball had made it onto the field. I don't know if a fan threw it or I realized.
No, I can explain what this is. I can explain what this is.
Ole Miss has the turnover dunk thing.
It's turnover and touchdown, I believe.
Okay, so somehow this ball gets out to like the middle of the field, and the ref has it, and he's walking, kind of jogging over to the Ole Miss sideline, holding a basketball. Just a weird thing to see. He tosses the ball to Lane Kiffin, who puts his arms out in a loop and moves his arms so the ball goes through the hoop that he made, and everybody.
I think his OC was hitting with it. It's good.
It was very funny.
The Ole Miss had this basketball goal. I assume somebody clanged it off the back iron trying to throw down. I think so.
I appreciate Lane Kiffin's levity in situations. He keeps it fun. Alabama 38, Wisconsin 14. We may need to start talking about Ty Simpson. He threw for almost 40. He threw for almost 40 yards, 4 touchdowns. Between 2 games, he completed like 30 of 31 passes over a stretch. He's looked like he's got the timing down. He didn't have the timing down in that first game against Florida State. That win, by the way, has aged very well. I have Florida State still in my top 4. I think
here's what I'll say briefly about Ty Simpson is you give him an open receiver, you give him a clean pocket. I think he can do it. And if you can do that consistently, you're ahead of the game in college football. I don't know that he's a world beater, but can get the job done with a clean pocket and open receiver. That's where you got something going there.
Alabama, Georgia in a couple of weeks. We'll see. I think I am concerned about Alabama's inability to run the ball very well. 72 rushing yards against Wisconsin.
Well, no, Jam Miller still hadn't been out there. I'll give him a pass. Offensive line, I'm with you. But when Jam Miller comes back, if they're still kind of stuck in the mud, we'll address that at a later date.
Wisconsin, Luke Fickell's now 8-13 versus Power 4 teams. It's not that you expected them to beat with Alabama. The injury luck has been very bad. They were down their quarterback, but it just has not worked at all since he got there for various reasons.
What's their best win? The only game I remember is like almost beating Oregon last year.
They almost beat Oregon and they almost beat Penn State.
Yeah, I feel like Oregon. I feel like the entire Luke Fickell era at Wisconsin is just them being unwatchable and not that competitive. And I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
not good.
That's tough.
Tulane 34, Duke 27. Jake Retzlaff, 4 rushing touchdowns as they win the Darien Mensa Bowl. Mensa put up good numbers in the end, but I think some of that was garbage time. Duke scored twice late to make it closer than it was. Story here, I think Tulane, now 2 wins against Power 4 teams. They are legit. They are in my top 25. They are a college football playoff contender. The other thing, the American Conference, not the American Athletic Conference, might be like really good. And the clear group of 5 college football playoff conference. Because not only do you have Tulane looking very good, you've got USF with 2 big wins already. You've got North Texas 3-0. They just beat Washington State 59-10. Memphis beat Troy 38-7. Navy has been solid. Temple's fighting. East Carolina has looked solid. This league, like, is head and shoulders above every other Group of 5 conference right now. North Texas, if they have the defense figured out, they will kind of play a role in potentially what this conference race turns out to be. By the way, Tulane, USF do not play each other in the regular season either. So this conference looks good.
Big opportunities ahead, by the way. East Carolina's got BYU this week. Memphis has got Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl. Ole Miss has Tulane. So some opportunities. Temple and Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah, Tulane's going Ole Miss. Tulane, Ole Miss. Keep an eye on that.
Careful.
Keep an eye on that. Houston 36, Colorado 20. Connor Wegman looks good. You know, he looks comfortable in that Willie Fritz offense that they're doing. They handled Colorado. I think he looks good.
Leg, Chris, did you see that? The juke? That was. I didn't know Connor had that in him. I got to tell you, not a lot of dudes named Connor hitting the stanky leg like that.
Yeah, so and Colorado, I guess, Colorado sticking with Ryan Staub at quarterback. Like I'd like Staub's.
It's not happening.
The thing is,
there's no.
The thing is, like, I like Staub's quick decision making. You can see it. He just doesn't have the physical tools to get it there. So we'll see what happens in there. Iowa State 24, Arkansas State 16. I'm gonna give Iowa State a pass on this. It's a road game at a G5. It's kind of a sleepy, weird thing. You get a mulligan on that. Iowa State, you're fine. Arizona 23, Kansas State 17. This was a non-conference game, by the way. Kansas State now 1-3. I'm completely out on them. Season has been a complete disaster. I don't get it.
Avery not running, still weird. It's getting weirder by the week. I thought it was a game plan thing in week 1 against Iowa State. This clearly is a trend. And I was texting a friend of mine who's a big K-State fan, and I said, well, at least Avery will be healthy at the end of your 3-9 season. So that's good.
Where were we here? Ohio State 37, Ohio 9. This game was 13-9 early in the second half. Ohio State fans very mad at me for not having Ohio State ranked number 1. I do now, but kind of reluctantly. Freshman Bo Jackson, the freshman, over 100 yards, might be the best running back they have on the roster. Not sure.
Oregon 30. About Bo Jackson coming back and being a factor in our lives.
It's like when we had the second Isaiah Thomas in basketball.
That's probably more of a Michigan thing because people weren't really talking about that.
Yeah, right over there actually. My dad's got a Pistons 1990 championship thing. Isaiah Thomas
is there. It kind of helps that like the second Isaiah Thomas also kind of looked like him, and he was like kind of an undersized point guard a little bit. But this is a little bit. We'll see. It's going to be a thing anyway.
Yeah. Oregon 34, Northwestern 14. Kind of actually an ugly game, but not great weather. I'm going to give Oregon. I mean, they won by 20, but
they were up 34-0. I mean, then they took the dogs off. I mean, this is a Lion final score here. Oregon could have won this game 100-0.
Yeah, you did what you needed to do. You're fine. Penn State in a couple of weeks. That's the game we're all waiting for. Then FIU 38, FAU 28. FIU wins the Shula Bowl, ending a 7-game losing streak in the series. Unfortunately, though, however, no tweets from Pitbull about the win.
Come on, Pitt. Mr.
He tweeted
Worldwide.
about it. He tweeted September 19th about the game, but nothing after. I wonder how much he actually uses that stadium, like he's allowed to. Curious how that's going.
He maybe just goes and works out in the morning. Listen, maybe they got to name it after him again, and they can get another tweet. How about that?
All right, now we'll go to the helmet stickers. This is where we shout out a player who was maybe a little bit under the radar, but had a really good performance that we want to give recognition to. Mine is going to go to Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy. 22 carries, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a blowout win against Louisiana. That's more than 11 yards per carry. Even if you take out a 71-yard run he had, it's a very, very good day. Mizzou, they're ranked. They beat Kansas. You know, if they've got a running game to go along with Bo Pribula, again, we talked about the Tigers a couple last week, but this is a team we're keeping an eye on Missouri for sure. David, who do you got?
Big hits in the portal. Pribula coming over from Penn State. Hardy, Louisiana Monroe guy. I think I mentioned it on the show.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's a rivalry. Like he was fired up to play Louisiana because he's a ULM guy. I should have realized.
Sure, I guess
that's what that was.
Either way, I liked it when they got him, and he has worked out pretty well. Missouri finding these running backs. I mean, Cody Schrader coming over from D2, and then Ahmad Hardy from Louisiana Monroe. Shout out to their scouting department, man. They're getting after it. My helmet sticker, all name teamer, Trinidad Chambliss. Are we going Chambliss? Chambly? I'm choosing Chambly. Just
Chambliss.
I'm going to go with Trinidad Chambly. What? Listen,
Ole Miss quarterback who took over for this.
Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons. I think we're going to see by the time you're listening to this, Lane Kiffin might have already been fined $25,000 for Austin Simmons not showing up on the SEC's mandated injury report. Whether or not you think that $25,000 is a stiff enough deterrent, we're about to find out. I think it's fair to say it perhaps might not be. But he comes in, steps in, unclear when he knew he was going to be playing. I would bet it was probably earlier in the week. 21-29 for 353 yards. Also ran for 2 scores, 15 times, 62 yards. Arkansas, their defense is going to give up some career highs this year, but that's a tough spot for a kid to come in there. Already a program kind of hitting the reset button a little bit, trying to figure some stuff out. Expectations are still pretty high. Big win for them. He looked really good. We'll see kind of how they balance that. Austin Simmons hadn't done a ton to cement himself. I don't know that we're having a Wally Pipp situation yet, Chris, but I it's a little bit like, if his ankle's still a little bit gimpy, you don't necessarily have to rush him back.
Yeah, Simmons went out there. He could barely move. So, it was pretty clear that Ole Miss is probably
crazy. I think it was just it was a Friday morning scooter accident, right? They had no clue, right?
Trinidad Chambliss, by the way, a transfer from Division II Fresno State here in the great state of Ferris State. What did I say?
Fresno. I don't think they're Division II. Shout out to the Bulldogs.
Ferris
That's
State.
on Chris. Chris hates the G5.
It's late.
Our guy Chambly.
I'm in the great state of Michigan.
Our guy Chambly.
My high school team used the Ferris State Bulldog logo. Tony Anise got a great program going over there. And with that, we're going to now move to the way we always finish the show, which is by remembering some guys. And I'm going to start off with someone else who beat Tennessee on the final play for Georgia. That is quarterback David Green. When I got into college football, he was the Georgia quarterback. I always associate him with Georgia. He had the famous throw on the final play in 2001 when Larry Munson declared, "We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose." Sorry, Tennessee fans. We do think you're a legit team. But I had to remember good old David Green, Georgia quarterback.
My memories of David Green are, one, he was a thick fella.
Yes.
Thicker than your average quarterback. And very much like a touch guy. Very catchable ball. Listen, we talk a lot about velocity. Some of these young quarterbacks, Chris, I feel like are obsessed with velocity and don't understand, there's a window. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw it as hard as I can and then blame my receiver when it ricochets off his hands and the safety just catches it like a punt return. Throw a catchable ball. David Green, in my memory, threw one of the more catchable balls in the history of college football. Shout out to David Green. I remember him for sure. I'm also going to remember another quarterback. Chris, it'd be SEC Newcomer of the Year in 2006, Brent Schaefer, who, was taking care of business with future national champion Ed Orgeron at Ole Miss. And in the early days of the internet, Chris, do you recall the Colonel Reb is crying? I don't know. I feel to call it a viral video is almost disrespectful to it. I would call it an anthem to a sport and a state. But I feel like we got to get a Colonel Reb is crying cut at some point.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Vernon who made that song.
Oh, that was him,
really? Good song. Yeah, it's Chris Vernon.
Wow, what was Chris Vernon doing when he did that? Was he just in college, or was he working at that point?
I don't know if he was doing radio or what he was doing, but good song. And
are we in the trust tree, Chris? Are we in the trust tree?
Sure.
I don't like the Masters updates from Chris Vernon. I'm sorry. I think it's lame.
I like them, but it's too repetitive. Like
Yeah.
you realize, oh, he's going to say the same thing 4 times in a row. I have like a second before I can kind of pay attention again. I do enjoy
Yeah.
it.
I don't like it. I'm out on him anyway.
Brett Schaefer, we remember you, former Ole Miss quarterback. And we have a nomination from listener Mike Dodonna. Remember that guy, Glenn Foley, quarterback, Boston College, 1990 to 1993, led the Eagles to the upset of #1 Notre Dame the week after Notre Dame beat Florida State in one of the games of the century, denying Notre Dame the chance to play for a national championship. Also, the first QB I can remember that wore a glove on his non-throwing hand. Glenn Foley before my time, but I do know very much of that game and the lore that has in Boston College, and it's the thing I always think about when I think about that Notre Dame Florida State game from the week prior. So, Glenn Foley, Brent Schaefer, David Green, we remember you. Please send your nomination for a guy to remember to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. David, we've done a lot of podcasting this weekend. People go listen to the After Dark live reaction episode. If you haven't, please subscribe to the YouTube channel as we're growing that thing, having some fun. We've got some nice, better graphics here on the screen for those of you who are watching. Having fun, kind of just growing this thing out. David's been more consistent with getting the microphone at a proper space away from his mouth. And I think that's going to do it. We'll be back on Thursday to preview week 4. We're already at week 4, David. What do you think?
Sure. Listen, Chris, my whole life right now we're in upheaval. I moved right before the season, the week 1 road trip. I don't have time to be tired. So
are you going anywhere next week for games?
No, I am home this week. And then I think I'm home. I'm pretty sure I'm home next week as well. I was on the fence to do Notre Dame A&M this week, and then after Notre Dame lost, we only staffed it with Pete. So no, but I am home this week, so I'm looking forward to it. So I'll be chilling in Multiview yet again.
I will be back up in Norman for Auburn, Oklahoma in the Jackson Arnold Bowl. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a great
That's going to be a
environment.
good game. I'm excited about that game.
I think so too. I'm looking forward to that. We'll talk about that game and all the other games, as well as all the news that comes out from the week of college football. We'll be talking about that on Thursday. So for David Ubben, I'm Chris Vannini. Thank you to listening to Bunch Formation. We will talk to you on Thursday.
And bring back the turnover chain. And maybe Chris will put you #1 in his athletic 136. Maybe.